Hi, everybody. Welcome to Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. I am Carmen DeValis and the founder of Doggies for Dementia Foundation. And I'm also an author and a former nurse practitioner, which is really exciting today. And I say those things because our guest today is Marianne Sciucco, who has done amazing things. So she's a nurse. She is, I want to get this right, founder and manager of AlzAuthors, was a daughter and family caregiver. Yes. And I think I said this before, but fellow nurse also. And welcome to our program.
Hi, Carmen. Thank you so much for inviting me to come talk to your guests.
Oh my gosh, of course, absolutely. I am super stoked today because I know the information that you have to share about AlzAuthors. Number one, I adore you guys. You're a fellow nonprofit. You're doing such fantastic, uh, such fantastic things for people who are authors, who many
Thank
came from a place of caregiving, right?
Yes.
And
Sure.
supporting other caregivers who are like on the journey now. And see, I got goosebumps just saying that. I just think that's just such a beautiful thing. And you're the expert on this. So this is me going, I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. I I want to hear about All's authors, of where you started, where'd you get the idea? How'd this happen?
Wow. So yeah, you're lucky because I love to talk about All's authors, my favorite thing. So we are the global community of authors writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experience to light the way for others. And that is a mouthful. But all of our stories in All's authors, all of the books, blogs, podcasts, films, and other resources that we promote were written primarily more than 90 something percent by people who have been on their own dementia journey. And they have chosen to tell their story and make it public so that they can share what they've learned. So people who are now on a dementia journey can learn from their mistakes, can gather their own insight and wisdom, and not have to do this all on their own. So one of our catchphrases is, "You are not alone." And we want caregivers to know and understand that is not all the journeys are alike, but there are so many similarities that you will find someone somewhere who is going through the same trials that you are enduring. And you can help each other by sharing your
Mhm.
stories, by being open and honest, by sharing information, tips, hacks, whatever you want to call it, resources. And there's a lot of stuff out there.
Mhm.
We know that caregivers are very busy. They don't have a lot of free time. Many people don't like to read or have time to read. So resources that are based on books might not be your cup of tea. However, we offer our resources, through the podcast and through virtual events and video, which you can find on the YouTube channel. So we do have a lot to offer you on your journey. If you're looking for information, if you're trying to find some suggestions for a problem that you might be grappling with, somebody else has already been there and done that. So spend a few minutes trying to find out what they have to tell you, and it might just solve that for you. So we've
Yeah.
been around since 2015.
Yeah.
And it actually happened almost kind of like serendipitously. I had published a book. I wrote a novel and it had Alzheimer's theme. It's called Blue Hydrangeas, an Alzheimer's Love Story. It was based on a couple I met in my work at the hospital. I was a case manager, and this couple captivated me, and came up with this whole story about them. And I published the book, and it was really slow going, trying to find an audience for a book about Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was part of a author collaborative called Clean Indie Reads, and they had about 3,000 authors at the time who had all gathered together to help each other promote their books, sharing information on social media, blogs, newsletters, you name it. And that was fun and helpful. And I started thinking, gee, I wonder if I could make something like this for authors of books about Alzheimer's and dementia. Maybe we could all help each other in the same way.
What a
And
brilliant
it was
idea.
crazy. Yeah, so I was a copycat. I admit it. But anyway, I reached out to some authors that I knew. I'd been in contact with. We had written reviews for each other and things like that. We didn't know each other personally. We only knew each other through social media and the internet. So I managed to gather 4 others who take on this project with me. So in June of 2015, we decided that we were going to help promote each other's books for the month of June, which is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month.
Mm.
So at the end of that, 3 of us remained in contact. We had had a lot of fun. And then in November, which is Caregiver Appreciation Month, we decided, why don't we try this again? And we did. And at the end of that, we said, gee, this is a lot of fun. I like working with you guys. We seem to be gaining some traction. We came up with the hashtag AlzAuthors. So in June, we got together again, 2016, but this time we were going to do things a little more adventurously. And so we started a blog called alzauthors.com. And on the blog, we decided to feature a new book every day, Monday to Friday, for the week of June 2016, a new author and a new book. So we solicited all these authors to write blog posts for us, wondering, would anybody even do this?
Yeah,
But they did.
that was kind of risky, right? I mean, in
Yeah,
2000,
yeah.
I
And
think
we're
back
like
in
scrambling.
2015. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're scrambling trying to get these posts up every day and promote them on social media. So we did all of that. And at the end of the month, we just looked at each other and said, gee, that was fun. And we still had authors. So we said, well, why don't we just keep it going? But we'll just do it once a week. We're not going to do this every day because it's
yeah,
crazy. We'll do it once a week and we'll see what happens. So
yeah,
that was in 2016. So we're still posting authors, but now we do it every other week because in the in between weeks, we have a podcast.
yeah.
And we have a bookstore and a huge site, lots of social media going on, traveling libraries, custom caregiver collections, virtual events, a shop where you can buy our merchandise with our beautiful logo on it, and over 300 authors.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So so no matter how you like to learn, whether you like to listen or watch or
Mm-hmm.
read, you've got it covered. And
We've got it covered.
yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
got it covered. And I think one of the things you said is so many of the can come from a place of experience or like a profound reverence for that caregiving journey, wherever they started. And one of the things I really love is how you and you're because I'm on your email list as well as many other things. I think I'm part of all of that, but yeah, you get to know the authors, and so it is just so much more of a complete experience, if you will, when you have a feeling of who's writing this, or of them, or you've heard them speak, or you've seen where they what uh, inspired them to write that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about other people, but I imagine it's similar. We put ourselves in that place, to we look for patterns, and we try to see, where do I fit in there, and which I think is really helpful for other caregivers, whether their situation is exactly the same or similar. And I know you've inspired others who followed and read caregivers to say, you know what, I want to write my story too. I want to do this too.
We
And
have
how, yeah,
done that.
yeah. I can imagine that's pretty healing, right? To
Yes.
finish, it's like writing memoirs, or, saying what you taught and knowing you're helping other people.
Yes. And we do encourage people to write their stories, and it doesn't have to be published.
Yeah.
You can just write it for yourself in a little notebook, or type something out and leave it in a Word doc on your hard drive. You don't have to share it with anyone.
Yeah.
And it's important to kind of in retrospect or in real time, because there is a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on our website that is being written in real time, but a lot of it's written retrospectively,
Hmm.
maybe many years, as many as 10 years or even more beyond, because the experience is so profound and deep that it often takes that long for people to even wrap their head around what happened.
Yes.
What was my life about during that time? It's like a blur. And your family has endured so much, and there's a lot of pain
Yeah.
and maybe
Yes.
guilt.
Uh-huh.
and there's just a lot of stuff. And so getting that out on paper, even if it's just for yourself, you can burn it, is very cathartic. And the authors
Yeah.
will say that.
Yeah. Because
And
caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia or other type of dementia, and or if a lot of the people we photograph and document stories for have Alzheimer's, their early onset most, and that part of sharing their stories is just I just don't even know how to put that into words, but it's life changing, really, and it helps to put things in perspective. And of course, the complexity of caregiving and caring for someone that you love and going through all that. Truly, I think what you feel at the time and what's happening at the time, I think if you write about it right after, and then as you say, and later times, you're going to see it differently too. And that's just life. That's how it goes. Isn't that how it is for all of us? I look back
it
now at
is,
what I thought I knew when I was 30 and how I responded to things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I see that completely different now. Yeah, it's just life. And
you
yeah,
do. You may
yeah,
see yourself better retrospectively as you work it through too. A lot of times
yeah,
we do things and we feel like we failed or we missed something or we should have done this different. And then you realize in the end that, you did the very best you could with what you had at that time.
right,
Mm,
right. Because as
healing is
yeah,
healing.
you mentioned guilt, and that guilt and that shame piece, the caregiving could have always done better. Should I have done this? What about that decision? And in truth, there just is no easy answer to that. You make the right choice at the time, right? And yeah, the processing of that, and how nice it is to process with other people, like in their some of the authors or the blogs or even your podcast. You're working through it, right? And
Hmm.
it helps for you to process what's happening as well. Um,
Yeah, there's an evolution and, coming up with solutions to issues sometimes too that might have evaded you at the time.
yeah.
That can be really helpful and to bring that to others. I hear when I do podcast interview, a lot of times the stories can be very similar, but everybody has a different approach, or they
Hmm.
may have been different. I always put it back to like demographics and resources. I think those are kind of the keys
Yeah.
to the whole thing as to like what you have available to you, like because of where you live or because of your economic situation. That is going to be the main thing,
Hmm.
um, driving factor in your story.
Yeah.
Whether or not you can afford care. Can you afford assisted living? A lot of people can't.
Yes.
I would say
Right.
most can't.
Yeah.
Most people can't even get like respite for 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
So to me is like one of the driving factors, and people need to understand what's available to them where they live. That's like the first job. That's somebody's job. I always say, the person that's not doing the hands-on care but wants to help, they can be the one to do the research and go into the
Hmm.
community and start making phone calls and finding out what's going on and where you can go to get care and help and what's free and what you can pay for and how much money and how do I get Medicaid and all these issues. That's
Yeah.
somebody's job.
That's somebody's job. Yeah, and that's one of those things when we're thinking about as far as the caregivers, like I don't know how to ask for help, or I just spoke with a gentleman last week and they provide grants for families for respite care
Mhm.
and things. And he said a lot of people just don't know how to ask or what to ask for. They're just kind of in a state of turmoil. And one of I love what you just said there, because maybe one of the first steps is kind of asking for someone to say, yes, please find me some help. And I
Mhm.
know for some people listening too, you hear 2015 and go, well, that really wasn't that long ago. And 2015, I was still clinical. I was just phasing out of my 40 years of being okay, what now? And I will tell you, as a nurse practitioner in the clinic and working with families, our resources were really limited, where to find. And then, too, I needed to take the time to find things. But as I'm out there, I'm looking now, in 2022, we've got people who are in real time posting Instagram videos and educational pieces. We've got the many people writing just amazing stories and
Mhm.
books and resources, and writing blogs with resources. And I want you to touch bases again in a little bit more detail in what y'all have with all the authors. But we've come a long way. We've come a long way since 2015.
We have, because when we started, we were like, well, who's going to write anything for us? How are we going to find 20 books?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? We get people writing to us every week asking to be a part of this
yeah,
with their new books. It's like,
yeah.
I think I had like three last week, three inquiries,
Wow.
which, we don't even, we used to look for books. We don't look for books anymore because they just come to us.
They come to you.
Um,
Is
People
that
are really being vocal. And I think when, in order to have change, you need to make a big noise. That's how
hmm
it is in this country. Whoever
hmm
has the biggest mouth is going to get what they can get from, the government or from, private enterprise or whatever to
Yeah.
assist the whole caregiving situation in this country, which they were trying to pass something through Congress in this bill that they wanted to pass, the Build Back Better bill, I think it was called at the time. And they finally did pass something, a version of it, but did not include the caregivers and the help for people doing care at home and all of that, which is disappointing. But that's not bad because we know that they're talking about it and
Yeah.
it's on their mind. So when people decide they're going to speak up and tell their story and more and more and more, and not afraid and not embarrassed or ashamed, and say, look, this is what's going on, this is what we need, then
Yes.
we can start getting change
Yes.
through legislation. And even in our local communities, people are building these dementia friendly communities.
Yes.
There's a template for that, so you could look into it, Google it, and there's templates. They
hmm
have one for dementia friendly restaurants, and you can get the information on how to make restaurants in your communities helpful for people who have dementia. A lot of
Yeah.
people who are caregiving eat out. They don't
hmm
cook. Usually, especially if the wife is the one with the dementia and she cooked for them all their years of marriage, and now she's not able to do that anymore. A
Right.
lot of couples, they'll go out to eat. So then it's helpful to go someplace where people know you and they know how to respond to a person with dementia. Most people don't know
hmm
how to do that. Or
Yeah.
even just in the community, there's a project where they wear it's in England. Wendy Mitchell told me about it. It's called, I always get it mixed up, a lanyard. So it's a necklace, and I think it has like a sunflower or something on it, and it identifies that person as somebody who has some type of cognitive impairment, so that when they're out in the community, others that they encounter who know what that means, are
hmm
available to assist them if they
Yeah.
need help with,
Yes.
getting on a
Yes.
bus, getting a train, crossing the street, in the store, if they're being harassed, or if they look confused, they have that look on their face, like, I'm caught in a moment. Um,
Yeah.
people would know what was going on so
Yeah.
that they could help them. So those things are really important, but those things only
So,
happen when people are being open,
yeah.
you know,
I'm so
and you
glad
have to
you mentioned
demand.
that. Yeah, and you have to start having the conversation and bringing it to
Mhm.
light, because
Yeah.
I think there are people out there, even who are just learning about it, maybe haven't even been touched in their family, but certainly with family members, are like, "What can I do? What can I do?" They just you aren't sure, and there are really wonderful things like helping to initiate those dementia-friendly communities or locations or restaurants and things, and there's that fine line between I'll speak for sure for the people with early onset who will say they go, I just want to be treated normal. I just want to be treated
Mhm.
like, but at the same time need that extra guidance sometimes, or support. And so if there's some kind of designation, at least we're aware, right? And have the option to jump in or not. And I spoke with a fellow nurse, by the way, at Kingdom of Fife in Scotland, and she heads up a program there so that their kingdom is dementia friendly and what they've done. And it's led a lot by, I think about 5 or 6 people with early onset Alzheimer's. And they have training programs and things for their town. So the point is, there's just so much that can be done, and we have a long way to go. But by raising awareness of the various ways, that's the first step. And it can be a consistency. And like you said, have a big mouth. Just get out there and
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. And not to be ashamed or embarrassed. I know like there's a lot of stigma associated with a dementia diagnosis in many ways.
Uh,
And in some families, it's not even discussed or
no.
especially outside the home.
Yep.
We need to get over that because we're not going to get anything to help us if we do that.
Yeah.
It's not
And
working.
we're
And
in
people
a
with dementia, whether it's early on, they're in the community. They're not, tucked
Mhm.
away, hidden away somewhere, locked up. They're out
No,
there.
or
They
shouldn't
can still
be. I
work. Some
mean,
of them still work.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, the separation is just too big. It's like, what can we do to bring that together? And to say that our country is in need of that is an understatement. It's a crisis situation
Mhm.
for families. It's a crisis situation emotionally, physically. We know about, right? Emotionally and financially, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to revisit, Marianne, before we finish, what I know you talked about the blog, and there were some other things too, various resources, places people can go within All's Authors. What can they expect to
Mhm.
find? So is
Mhm.
it allsauthors.org?
Com.
Com?
Nope.
Alls,
Authors.com. We
dot
are a
com?
.com. We are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit.
Mm.
Yeah. So the blog, well, not we used to be every week, but now we do it every other week. We
Mhm.
feature a new author with a new book, and they write and they tell their story. Why did they write this book? What was their dementia journey? What can the reader get out of it? Why it's of value. And then we give you all of the links to all their social media, their website, and a link to buy the book on Amazon because we are Amazon associates. So when somebody clicks on our Amazon link and goes to the Amazon store and buys something, we get a little bit of a kickback. It's not a ton of money, but it's a little bit. So it
Yeah.
helps.
Every
So
nonprofit needs
that's how
help.
that works. So,
Marianne.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
help.
A lot of help.
Um,
Yes.
so you can look forward to that, and then you can like go through the backlog. And we have everything categorized. So there's a page on the website where you can browse through them according to the type of book. So we have several different categories. We have fiction, we have nonfiction, memoir, caring for your mother, caring for your father, caring for your spouse, caregiver guides, children's books, books for teens, art books like with photography, poetry, things like that. So
Mhm.
you could, if you're taking care of your mom, for instance, you could just look through that section and it'll introduce you to all the authors of books and you can find them that way. And then we have a bookstore and they're categorized as well. And you can like see the covers and click on them. That'll take you right to the Amazon page with
Mm.
our affiliate link. So that's how we have been managing that for the last 6 years. But then we started the podcast back in November 2020. Was it 2020? I think it was 2020. And that was started because we know most people don't read, most caregivers aren't reading, and if they have time, they're probably not reading either, but we know they don't have a lot of time and they may not be reading, so they're not going to sit down and read a book. So for some of us, that's exactly what we would do when we had a problem. I don't know
Mhm.
about you, but whenever I was curious about something, I'd go to the library, find some
Mhm.
books, start reading and start learning, and that's how I did that my whole life. So I don't stop that now. But we know that most people in this day and age, they don't bother to read. They don't want to be burdened by a book. So we decided we would interview the podcast, and I do them. We would interview the authors and let them tell their stories and talk about their books on the podcast. So you can
Mhm.
listen to the podcast. We've got 72 episodes, I think. And now we're doing them every other week. So you can hear, the discussion with the author and find the different ones that might speak to you, whatever your situation is.
Mhm.
and, discover some kinship and learn some tips or some hacks or ways to manage situations that you probably weren't aware of. It's all very
Mhm.
helpful. Just to know
Yeah.
somebody else is there. I'm not doing this
Yeah.
all. I'm not out here all on my own. Some people just have this idea that they're the only one going through this.
Mhm.
No, there are millions of people going through this, and
Yeah.
you probably
Mhm.
even know people, and nobody's mentioning it.
That's
And
right.
you're
That's right.
together, you see them, they're in your church, they could be at your job in your neighborhood. You might see them at the store and you don't have any idea what's going on. They're doing it too, taking care of their loved one with dementia.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. So true. So true. Well, we will have all the links to those wonderful resources in the description here. And this will become a blog post because we know people like to learn a variety of ways too. So we try to cover our
Mhm.
bases in blog
Yeah.
posts. And so applaud another nonprofit out there really just, working to raise awareness. And you see a problem. And so there were what, four of you, right? Four. You guys saw a problem and you're like, you know what? Here's a way to help solve that. And you did it. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's not like you went to school to start a nonprofit. I don't think so. Did you like
Oh
study
no.
how to? No, me either. It's like you just see a need and you're like, wow, this is so important. And I think sometimes in looking back, I would think, oh, nonprofits, they kind of know. And it's like, wait a second, we just learn as we go and invest a lot of
Mhm.
time, effort, and heart into it
Yeah,
because we really care and we see a need and
exactly.
go for
We
it.
funded it
So applaud
ourselves.
you. Yeah, we find it
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we
Yes.
realized we needed more money. So we said, well, how are we gonna get this money? So we said, well, we'll be a 50. Somebody was making a donation. That's what happened and said, are you a
Ah,
501(c)(3)? We're like, well, no. Oh, that's
yeah,
too bad. So that's when we decided it might benefit us to do that. And then we can apply for grants and things like that.
sure. Similar to me. I mean, I was just doing it as part of my photography business and just never charge. I'm like, this piece I just do because I
Mhm.
love it and I want to gift that to families. And then people are like, if you were a nonprofit, you could do more with it. And then started the podcasts and the blogs and of course the pandemic impacted that too. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to even say in a bad way because it just led me to do more, to reach more and more people and people around the world. That's how I know about what's happening in Scotland and
Yep.
around the world, because we have a lot to learn in the United States and we are in a crisis state. I'll just say that again. I'd like to forget about that, but that is the case for family caregivers. And uh,
True.
as we have more
That is
numbers, that's
true.
part of why you have more authors, and there are more and more people impacted. And um,
Yeah. Well, so many of the authors will say, I wrote the book I wished I had.
yes,
That we
yes,
hear all the time. This is the book I wish I had when I was on my journey.
yes, absolutely. I've heard that from just about every person that has talking
Mhm.
about their caregiving journey. It's like, yeah, I really wanted this, and so I'm going to make it so someone else doesn't go through what I went through with that piece of it.
Right.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing. I'm so this makes me very happy, Marianne. I've been
Oh, I'm
excited
glad.
to chat with you because I've chatted with other people on your team, and you're just a beautiful group of people, and I just
Yeah.
love what you do. Love what you do,
Thanks so
and
much.
oh, you're
Appreciate it.
welcome. And you will find links to all the authors on our resources page. We have a resource page which I'm adding for nonprofits that I love because there's some great stuff going on out there. And all the authors definitely a part of it. And I was early on. I think my book I finished. It took me a lot longer than I thought to write my book, like a year or two, to
Oh, yeah.
a lot longer than I had no
That's good.
idea. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I was not a writer. I was a nurse, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, so I was early on with y'all too, and just was always so grateful for all the guidance and support that y'all do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. And
So much. So good to
yeah,
see you again.
good to see you
Oh,
too. All right,
that's
you
good.
guys, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.